Market sort of has looked past this whole idea of Fed nomination risk with the reappointment of Fed Chair Powell and Brainerd as the #2. Is there something to be concerned about here, though?
Thanks for having me, Sarah. Well, yeah, I think the problem is staring the markets right in the face, and the usual Fed boffins really aren't thinking about it a whole lot. What you've got is Powell renominated, Brainerd nominated to a different position, and you've got as many as 3 new slots that we don't even know who's going to fill them yet. So you've got a majority of the Fed essentially hanging in the balance. Meanwhile, people are blithely talking about how quick tapers are going to happen and how many rate hikes you're going to have. My contention is real simple. If you don't know who's going to be making the policy, you don't know what the policy is with any certainty. So I think that what you're going to have is a little bit of drift and stasis for quite a while. And particularly with the concerns about inflation front and center in the United States Congress, and particularly in the Senate that has to confirm these people, there's going to be a lot of crossfire and a lot of strafing here. So I don't think any of this stuff is graven in stone or written in stone, and certainly the dot plots are even more speculative than usual.
See, I was thinking that the Biden administration is taking a lot of the heat for inflation, passing the big stimulus, the $2 trillion stimulus plan this year, going for trillions of dollars in more spending. You think it's going to get on the Fed's shoulders in terms of politicization of the Fed versus the administration?
Well, I think it goes both ways, frankly. Well, if you're concerned about Fed policy, what you have from the Biden administration essentially is the renomination of 2 of the main people that have crafted that policy. That's going to be, by definition, that's going to make those confirmation hearings whenever they come up in the winter very, very interesting and tough. Republicans are being very tough on inflation, tough on the Biden administration, but yet you've got Powell and Brainerd renominated. I think what that means is there's going to be a lot of pressure from Republicans, and there's also going to be cross pressure from a lot of progressives, including people like Elizabeth Warren, who's already against Powell. So where are the votes going to come from?
Okay, so we'll watch that. Also want to get your thoughts on some other D.C.-related policy. What are you telling your investor clients right now about the likelihood of Build Back Better passing after Manchin's no last weekend, and now the discussion's still going on?
I've always said and continue to say that there aren't 2 political parties in Washington. There are 4 factions. Right now, you have the 2 factions of the Democratic Party, progressives and centrists, fighting with each other about this. I think they end up getting something done in the first quarter of calendar 22. But I think it's very small, $1.5 trillion or less. And frankly, it's not going to have much economic impact either way. Far more economic impact is going to come from the administration playing catch up on COVID. Both in terms of variants and testing. But right now, what you've got with Build Back Better is something that's vanishingly small by contrast to the beginning. It's 3 times less than Democratic progressives started out with. So it's not going to have much economic impact either way, I think.
But importantly, within that, or even separately, do you expect them to be able to extend the child tax credit, which does expire come January and has provided a lot of stimulus to the economy, or at least relief to families, 35 million families getting checks as much as $300 per child every month?
I do think they get something done on child tax credit. I think there's a lot of negotiating left to go. What's been apparent from the dialogue in the Democratic Party over the last week in the Senate is that there's a lot of discussions, but nobody's really talking to each other, if you understand what I mean. They need to talk a lot more. The child tax credit, I think, can get backfilled. So I think that effective to 1/1/22. So I think there's, in the end, not a lot of problems there. I realize this is a real world problem, but in the legislating world, they'll look at it as being backfilled. One other thing I would really look at that's kind of off the market radar in connection with Build Back Better is prescription drug pricing, which I think becomes more likely, frankly, the smaller the bill gets. Democrats are desperate to really want to do something that impacts positively on everyday citizens, and they're very fired up about this, and I do think they get something done.